We're back now. There we go.
We good?
Yeah,
all right.
So hey, if you stuck with us through our practice run there, I'm Joe King, Community Manager here at Gearbox Software. I'm joined by Creative Director Randy Varnell. Hey, Varnell.
Hey, Joe.
And Character Designer Jet Surrett. I had it that time. Yeah, I'm just messing around. We're going to have some concept art up on the screen here in a couple of minutes. I feel like at that point, I've said that line like 12 times now, right?
A couple of times, but that's the first time in the world I've heard this.
And I feel like it's going to be worth the wait.
Yeah, concept
I feel like it's going to be worth the wait. I really do. It's going to be up here in a minute. We're going to dive right into it here in just a second. But anyway, how are you guys doing?
Doing great. Great. It's great to be back.
How exciting is this?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Ernest finally. Yeah!
So this is the third character that we will have released for Battleborn. We're talking about when it hits. Starts to hit next week, right?
Yes.
And the week after that?
Next week for Season Pass owners and Digital Deluxe owners.
Right.
And then the following week, everybody.
So we're just
everybody's gonna
right around the corner
be on board.
To the third post-launch character that we've released.
Yeah.
We talked about, we've hit it at 5 so far. This is number 3 on that list.
We still got 2 to go.
Yeah. I know people are a little bit spoiled. They've already, I saw some online, people have already kind of unlocked his lore picture.
Well, they're so excited, you know? I mean, I don't blame them. I'm excited too.
Yeah. Some speculation videos. So we're gonna help the demo bird, right? We're gonna put some of that speculation to rest and talk about what's going on with Ernest today. So we want to dive in and talk about look at some concept art and talk about.
I would love to. I think that'd be great. It looks like we're ready to go here. Jet has the clicker of doom. So what we'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll just kind of hand this off to you guys and just tell us about Ernest. Tell us who Ernest is, where Ernest comes from, because Ernest has a really interesting story when it comes to where he comes from, and I would love for you guys to elaborate on that for everybody because I know they're going to find that really interesting.
Yeah, so Ernest is, I think he's one of my favorite stories when we talk about, you know, all the different ways that characters have come to life at Battleborn. Ernest is one that kind of was a little different than the others.
Yeah.
One of the first things we did in the project as a whole, and you were there right at the beginning, I think, with this Jet. Yeah. You were very early on the project. We had some concept artists that we just turned loose to imagine, you know, what kind of crazy characters we could put in this universe, you know, and imagine all that. And there was, I remember for a while in like the core design room, we had this table spread out with all of these concept pictures that we just had picture after picture after picture for all the characters. And in that first batch of concept, we got 2 or 3 characters that were really, really important to the game. Now we're trying to get a piece of concept art up on here. Is it not paging through?
It's the clicker of doom.
The clicker of doom.
The clicker of doom is
doomed. So while you're working on getting that up and doing that, the piece. Yeah. So this is Ernest that you've seen in the character video. What's interesting is this is one of those characters that the final Ernest actually looks in a lot of ways very, very similar to the original piece of concept
This is
art.
really early, right?
This is so early.
One of the first we ever had.
Wow.
Right. This concept art came in a wave, like with Thorn, who was one of the first character that we actually modeled out. Phoebe, Marquis, I think.
Montana, I believe.
Well, Montana, you know, actually has a different. But we had a different thing from him. He came from kind of a brothers in arms type of heritage, and we pulled him up and adapted him to our universe. And then Miko was a part of that. Mm-hmm. But when we were looking at we had 400 or 500 different concepts out at that point for characters. We were just like imagining what we would do, and we would literally bring people from Gearbox in by that room and show us your favorites. What are your favorites? And we kind of took a straw poll on that. What are the things we're most excited about? And this was one of the visual concepts that everybody saw this original Ernest concept. They're like, holy crap, that's amazing. We've got to make that someday. And for whatever reason, you know, that concept, I think we were thinking of him a little bit more as maybe like a flamethrower character or a firebird at that point.
We always thought he was the flame bird is what we were calling him, something like that.
So we always wanted to do that. For whatever reason, it didn't quite fit into the mix of characters we needed in the initial 25, so we didn't do it. But we did prototype a character that's very similar to the final Ernest that came out, right? So get over to the next screen.
So actually, really quick, let me interject. We have our first question from the chat, and thank you guys in the chat for joining us and throwing your questions at us. Keep those coming. We're going to answer some more later, but the first one is really interesting to me, and it is: wasn't the original Ernest a gnome?
Yes,
a gnome.
And there he is. If you see the picture that we brought up when we first prototyped him, and one of the designers at Gearbox wanted to really design a character that was that Grenadier type play. We knew that we wanted a mix of gunplay and Battleborn, so we wanted characters that represented kind of all the big gun classes. You know, Oscar Mike with the assault rifle, Montana with the big minigun,
sniper rifle marquee.
We brought Galt on eventually for shotgun.
Benedict rocket launcher.
Benedict for rocket launcher.
And types.
And kind of Peacekeepers was always the faction that we thought about kind of as the gun faction. You know, they're defensive and all that, but they are like the primary gun archetype faction, right?
Yeah, that's how they were.
Totally.
So Ernest, an early prototype, I think he was actually a scaled down Borderlands 2 Axton model with a big head.
Axton with a helmet on or something, scaled really tiny.
It was really
with the gray skin on it.
And it's funny, he kind of looked like the little gnome that we had here.
I mean, he's a little gnome. He's cute.
But you remember that. That was one of your favorite characters.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite to play at the beginning. And he had a pretty interesting kit. You can see the shovel on his back. Actually, his passive was weird. Whenever you stopped moving, you dug into the ground, and you became kind of invincible down there.
Which was kind of weird for balance purposes. I think we moved away from that.
We got rid of that pretty quick, but it was a pretty funny thing.
But we love that, and I think what happened is that whole kit, we had some other, like his ultimate was this thing with mortar that was super powerful, but it was really hard to describe, and it had some attachability problems.
It had to combo with another skill, which made the ultimate feel a little weak, is one of the things.
So I think all of that made us kind of, while we really loved the grenade play with him, it was really popular in early Battleborn playtests. We wanted to find a way to kind of improve that. So we tabled him, and he kind of ended up out of that original 25 rotation.
He got tabled, which was sad. Like, his grenade launcher was always really fun, but eventually he initially got tabled because his skills weren't really that good. It was his gun that was fun, and that's what we liked.
Right.
So we had so many other things that were good at the time. We just went ahead with those, and now we're back with them.
So we had a cool moment then when we were looking at the post-launch characters. That first group of 5 we wanted to do post-launch. We were debating all the characters and we want to do the bird again, and we want to do the grenade launcher.
He kept coming back, right?
And it was a really cool moment. Like, what if we never had really defined the bird? What if the bird actually has the grenade launcher, and we call him, and pulled it all together?
Yeah.
And so when we do that, every time we do that, the character, and that finally clicked, I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. Then we started up this re-concept progress. Every time we take a character that has those initial concepts, then when we really decide we want to make that character, we go back and do the full, where we explore all of the details of everything and turnarounds and all that. And what was interesting here, and you see some of this on screen, we actually thought briefly about, well, what if we already had 2 birds in the game? In fact, you are the bird designer.
That's me. I designed Benedict. That was my first character design, actually.
Benedict, which was awesome. Benedict got some attention this week. We got a new nerf on Benedict. I think the community is going to be really happy about that.
So far, so good, I think,
And then you did Toby.
Toby as well, yeah.
So,
I thought Toby as a bird, but...
well, he is. A penguin technically is a bird, right?
Just a robot.
But when we came back to Ernest looking at this, so we like, should we do a third bird? And so this concept here was like, as an owl, can we do something a little bit more owl? I think we kind of like Houdini, which was Marquis' bird.
Yeah.
Didn't you do some Marquis? Or you did Marquis as well too.
Marquis,
right? So you literally did all the birds in our game. Yeah, you worked on all of that.
So instead of calling you character designer, we should just call you Bird Guy from now on. Can we have that put in your business cards now?
Bird
just
Master,
Jets are at
like
Bird
that.
Guy, Gearbox Software.
Sure.
I mean, I think that sounds great.
What's awesome, I make fun of that, but you're one of our favorite designers on working on the ballistic and the automatic weapons, the more true to form weapons. You've done a really good job of that, and so it felt really natural, I think, for you to work on those type of weapons in development. You always did a really good job tuning it, make it feel good. But it's funny, we didn't restrict that concept just to birds. I mean, here is a thought of Ernest as a honey badger.
So
this is amazing.
The second stage of concepting was done by Robert Chu, one of our concept artists, and he kind of went all out with it, and there's tons of different bird variations, but then everyone really loved the honey badger, and it has some funny text in there about skill. But we ended up going away from it because we just were still attached to that first bird picture. Like, it's just a cute little bird that can mess you up.
That's great that the first image that the team produced of Ernest played such a role in getting to the final product, because like you guys said, that's not always the case.
But it happened sometime, and that was one. So we're looking at other concepts here moving along that, again, every time we do, when you model a character, you honestly have to look at them from every angle. You have to, every detail, every switch, every buckle.
And the thing about this is he had a skill set at this point, so we were, we knew we wanted to have this egg thing, and it was a big thing, so we built it into the backpack. Why not? And there's so many variations on this about how does the egg work, how does it connect. Like, these concept artists go deep and actually how the mechanics of this stuff goes together. So it's really interesting.
And as a character designer, you work really closely with the concept artist through all of the stage, talking about the abilities you have. How's it need to
when you get concept art that you don't like, it's not good. So,
you're gonna have a bad time, right? I want to throw in really quick that we have our first bird pun in the chat.
Oh, do we?
And it's a pretty good one. It's
Battleborn. Okay. Oh,
Battleborn. Yeah. So. Hey, chat, keep the puns coming for us.
I approve.
We love puns.
Can I put one in? We used to always say Battleborn.
Oh, it's not really birds, but it's another.
You got birds in a barn. It works. Right. It works. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I mean, talk about this. Like that last one. That's a lot of bird faces. So I mean, this kind of speaks to what you guys were saying a second ago about going through the process and iterating and things like that. There's a lot here. Like.
Just trying to find out, were we really sold on that original concept art, or the other things we can do? You know, can we make him? Can we fit him in the Peacekeepers and make him do something different? And I think we came back to then. I think it was me, unfortunately, that said, I really like the original one. Can we get back to that? Yeah. And so we ended up with kind of I think this is still Robert Chu, right, working on concept.
Yeah, I think he did all of Ernest.
And kind of the more finesse. Now you see the detail on the gun that you saw the concept. You have the power egg on his back and his grenade shells on there. Now that he's a grenadier, really bringing all that in. But it really captured still, I think, everything that we really, really loved about the original Ernest. Now this art, the one thing I think we did change from this is, this one he has really pronounced eyebrows. And that kind of that under eye darkening, the anti-glare paint, and there were some early concepts of that. This one, I think, that kind of took away a little bit of his cuteness.
Yeah.
And so we actually worked with the artist and even scaled that back. I think in the final Ernest that you'll see in gameplay today.
I mean, that's why I wish we initially went away from like the owl. He just looked too mean and menacing.
Yeah.
Wanted a little more cute.
Well, here's another cool question for you. So this is final product, Ernest, right here. This is pretty much what we have.
This was like the final concept.
This is pretty much what's going to be hatching for everyone beginning next week. Right?
Exactly.
Exactly. Thank you. Good. But so seriously, like we have a question from the chat that wants to know. You can't. I mean, now that you've started, we can't stop. Right?
It's awful. We should not have started.
We really shouldn't have. This is really bad. Now, I mean, someone in the chat wants to know relative height. How short is Ernest relative to the other Battleborn, you think?
I think he's about Raina's height.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. He may be a little taller. He's really wide, though. He's a fatty.
I think on scale, Arendi is probably the shortest that we have, right?
Arendi or Boulder?
Or Boulder may be the shortest.
Boulder might be the shortest.
But he's going to read a lot more like Boulder in chat. And that's a really great question because, when people think of engagement and how you engage and encounter and play against and with the character, you want to know how skinny are they, how tall are they? So he's not skinny. He actually has a pretty good silhouette to hit.
He's very wide, and that egg thing on his back actually goes out, so his side profile is... He's a very easy target.
But he's not tall. He's about, I think you're right. He's about Raina's size and probably a similar footprint to Boulder, maybe a little bit bigger than Boulder.
I think he's a little bigger than Boulder, but it's very similar.
Another question from chat that would be great here. What kind of bird is Ernest? I mean, we talked about his, the inspirations, and we went with an owl and a lot of different things. But when we've settled on this design, what kind of bird is this? What do we call this?
He is a red bird, Joe.
Yeah. Red bird. Okay.
We talked about this before
I can live with that.
The stream started.
Yeah, I can live with that.
We didn't know.
I can live with that. He's a red bird.
I'll have to come back to the community on that. I know because technically, if you want to get lore nerdy with our universe,
I'm sure the community would love that. Yeah, you're the guy to get lore nerdy with.
So all of our birds are from a kind of a master race, a core race called aviants. Aviants.
Okay.
And then they're all kind of subspecies off that. So Benedict has, I think he's a Buteonin, which is like a weird telling of the scientific name for falcon. Hawk.
Okay.
Toby is a Finiski. I can't remember where we landed on Benedict. on Ernest. So I'll have to come back and I'll look that up and get back to the forums on that.
That sounds good. Maybe we have the community brainstorm a species for us, and kind of see what.
But I'm going to go with Bombardier for now.
Bombardier.
The Bombardier.
Bombardier.
Which
that's what we've been calling Ernest internally is Bombardier.
Well, that was his code name in development. All the characters have a code name.
Well, actually, the old Ernest was the Bombardier or the regular, the gnome Ernest, which is Bombardier.
Well, it was Bombardier.
Bombardier, yeah.
And then
I can't even say it right anymore.
I know, right? When we pulled the concepts together, it was a Bombardier. I mean,
See, we can't even stop the puns when we're working, right?
It's terrible. We just immerse ourselves.
This is how it is around here. It's bad.
So we're getting in between these players and gameplay now.
Yes,
I think
we are.
We talked it long enough.
It's been a while.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have these guys start to kick off the match here. And while they're doing that, Jet, you want to walk through, kind of explain the gameplay kit and the abilities of that while we're spooling up the game?
Yeah, sure. So I guess the main thing to start with is he's a grenade launcher character. He has a 6-shot grenade launcher. They're impact grenades, so if they hit you, they detonate in the air. If they hit the ground, they bounce. But if they've already bounced, they won't detonate on you.
So they detonate on players.
Wait, no, they do detonate after they bounce. Sorry.
They detonate directly on players, direct hit, which we'll get in that in a second.
Yes.
It's passive, but they bounce off of the geometry in the level.
Yeah, all that. But yeah, and so then it's passive. Direct hit is the name, I believe.
Yeah.
When you direct hit somebody, you get a 15% damage increase. So it's a little bonus of being good with a grenade launcher.
Definitely, yeah. That's awesome.
Like that.
And the grenades are pretty sizable amount of damage, especially with that direct hit.
Yeah,
bonus,
they're pretty heavy.
You're
with AUGs and stuff later on, he's definitely a pusher. Minion waves go down quick with him.
Right, he's like on the aggressive side of support. You'll talk about some of his other abilities.
Yes.
He has some support abilities, but he really, if you want to lump him in support, he's really on the attacker side of that.
Yes. Yeah, he's a defensive type play style, but you can also play him forward.
He's kind of, I guess if you really look at him, he's kind of more of a balanced character because he has some defensive stuff, he has some support stuff, but he can play very aggressively.
We'll let the community decide if he's balanced.
I think he's going to be great. He's a very powerful character.
That's true.
And we'll talk more about builds and counters even for other characters because he has some really hard counters. I think in the game.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Another one of his skills, explosive charge. He throws a sticky mine out, which is an egg with spikes coming out of it. You throw it out, it sticks to the world and enemies.
You got to grab that low-hanging fruit when it's there. Come on.
I've already used that one, so you actually lose points.
Oh, wait, did you use that one already?
I did. I said it once.
I made a big hype thing here about a used pun. I'm so
Gotta
sorry.
stop.
So sorry. Anyway.
Joke's on you, Joe.
Anyways, yeah, they stick to the world, stick to enemies. They don't, unlike a lot of our other characters, they don't detonate automatically. You have to manually detonate them with your alternate fire.
Right.
So instead of an iron sight or anything like that, he pulls out a detonator in his hand and clicks it.
Oh,
so
okay, cool.
You can throw it in the air and then mid-air detonate right on top of somebody if they're behind cover maybe, or just throw it, stick it on them, blow them up.
Or you can do the classic, sticky grenade, a door or something like that, and wait until they come through and trigger it.
Exactly. And you can have multiples out, and it's a targeting system, so you get a little reticle when you're aiming over a mine. So if I have a mine in 3 different places, I can aim at one and detonate it without the others.
Okay. It's important to control It's important to realize it's triggered because that's not the only thing that he triggers.
No. So the power egg skill, which is his more supportive skill, he throws an egg like buff station out in the world, and it's a pretty good radius. And what it does is it has 2 modes, attack and defend mode. Attack mode gives you a 25% attack speed increase, I believe, which is great for a grenade launcher.
For all the characters.
For him and all
friendly characters standing around it.
In the range.
Right.
And then if you switch it to defense mode with your detonator has actually 2 switches. You do the other one, it switches it to defense mode, and that gives you a 15% damage decrease, I believe.
All right, so here we are. We're on outskirts, and we're already into the match play right here. So Sean is following Ernest here, and so you can see him running around. He's put out his power egg there, right?
Yep.
And he's got it. The yellow is the attack mode.
Yes.
So it's yellow, and you'll see it has like little spiky things that orbit, so you can tell it's attack. If you see it blue colored, that means it's defense mode. So even if you're on the opposite team, you can tell whether he's given that attack buff or that defense buff, right?
Yeah, and actually when you upgrade it with augments, the icons, it adds more to it, so you can actually tell what augments he's got.
Oh, cool.
If you learn them.
All right, so already been taken out. Oh, is this a Ernest on the other team?
It's a skin.
Actually running the first basic skin of Ernest there, who kind of turns him into like a lizard snake thing. It's like a reptile.
He's got like half cyborg
Devolves,
too. It's kind
I
of
believe
like
it's
Kano.
called, right?
He's got like part of the face.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
All right, let's see. Is Grant back up? Let's switch to Grant and let's take a look and see what Grant's doing. So you haven't talked about his ultimate yet, Jet.
No, I haven't. So his ultimate, actually, the thing on his back is his ultimate. And it is a big egg. And so what you do is you throw it out, and when it lands, it bursts into a mine grid. So there's a grid, and it blows out in a sphere. So it'll lay on the ground in a circle with I think 11 mines, something smaller mines.
Wow.
Yeah.
And if it's near walls, it'll stick on the walls instead. But each one of those mines are a proximity mine, so it's really good for throwing, let's say, in the middle of the lane, or someone's running away or chasing you. Drop it down. They have to run through that. Each one of those does damage separately.
Yeah,
so
good luck with that.
Pouring
Right?
through that. And later on in his tree,
Wow.
there's actually some augments for every consecutive mine you hit increases the damage by a percentage. So if you run through a minefield, you will die.
Wow.
Yeah, it turns him into a really good. Again, we're talking about kind of that support defensive nature. It really lets him. One of his keywords, if you look at him in the command menu, is territorial.
Yeah.
I think he's
I was
territorial
going to say
pusher.
area control for
Yeah,
days,
he's definitely
right?
control.
Yeah, he's territorial pusher complex because he's also, if you're playing like we're playing Meltdown here, again, you're pushing waves of minions. Just that grenade play, the sticky grenade play. He has a lot of explosive, which makes him really great on wave clear.
Yes, lots of AoE. And his reload isn't a clip or anything like that. It is you feed them in, but it's 2 at a time. So it takes 3 feeds to fill in a full one.
And then you have some augments that it can increase the number of grenades.
Yeah. I think his 2nd or 3rd level augment on the left. That one gives you an 8-shot rocket launcher and actually changed the model. We have a different
nice.
spinning barrel.
Cool. Let's switch over, Sean. If you're following him right now, we're on the stream. I'd love to get behind Grant again and from a spectator mode there. Bring up his helix. Let's take a look at that and let Jet walk a little bit of that. Let's see where Grant's building on this. All right. So pop back up a couple of choices. So Grant is building more on the right side.
Yeah, so he's building for it's hard to say right now, but he's definitely building for his mines, for his sticky charges. Explosive charges, sorry. So the first one on the right, it adds a pushback to your mine. So when you throw it out, you can detonate it and it'll push enemies back, but you can also push yourself.
So you were talking about a move like where you throw it out, run over it, and detonate it when you're in front of it and launch you forward.
Yeah, so you have to aim at the mine to target and detonate it, but if you don't have a target, it just detonates your oldest one. So you just throw it on the ground, run over it, detonate, and you can rocket jump with them essentially. I like Team Fortress Classic, a lot of grenade jumping in that game, and that's kind of where I wanted to go with that. It also is a really good counter with melee. If melee closes the gap on you, gets on you, you can throw it down, it'll knock you away and
Between
him away.
increase that separation, which means then you can work on the grenade shots to get them back out. Cool. And then what was he doing on the second one? Go ahead, Sean, and move downward there. So we did that, and then he went to
I think that's an
bonus boom, which is it's number of active charges, right?
Yeah.
So there you
Yeah, this choice, you can either have more mines out, or the one on the left, what you were talking about earlier, if you have multiple mines out, if they're within a range of each other, they'll just detonate each other. So you can have like 4 of them stuck on a wall over here, a guy comes out, that's basically 4 skills used on one person.
Yeah,
in one
chain reaction is the name of the other one. So again, that's what talk about classic TF2 kind of tropes that we wanted to bring in some places. I always used to love Demo Man. You stick a bunch of stickies on the door and do like all of them at once.
It takes some time to do, but once you get it there, it's a good nuke.
So it really supports that kind of defensive territorial play. Like I know players run through this wall for this thing. I'm going to set up the defensive thing, and then I'm just going to absolutely red paste the character that comes through the door.
It takes
right?
a lot of patience too. I'm not very good at it. I just let it go. That's kind of what I do. I think the second choice he took had to do with it was between. I think it increases his attack damage with his power egg out and attack mode. So a lot of his augments for the power egg are also based on the mode. So you can basically choose, do I want to lean heavily into attack mode or defense mode? There's not very many that do both. So you bounce between them, but whatever you aug for is what you're getting.
Yeah. Here's a quick question from the chat. Are the mines invisible to enemies?
No, they're visible. In fact, one of the best ways to counter Ernest is power egg station has health, can be killed, and his mines can be killed.
Okay.
Not very much health pool. You can shoot them out. You can shoot them out of the air if you want.
So really similar to like how Cleese's energy rifts work.
Yes.
You have a deployable in the world that the character puts out, and even Umbra's sunspots. All those things you put out can be shot and killed. If you want to get them out of
And you can see right here where he's placed it, right behind that corner. That's the key. One of the keys to Ernest. Like, if you want to place it behind things, not out in the open, because if it's in the open, they can just shoot it down, and that thing gives you a lot. It can give you attack speed, reload speed, attack damage for you and your team.
So if that's something we see in the world, we're going to want to take that out.
That's what helps
right?
him anchor such areas, because that thing just gives him so much power. But if you can take that out, he's a lot weaker.
Here's another question from chat. What are the max number of remote detonation mines that he can place at once?
I believe the default is 3, and that level 3 aug on the right takes it up to 5.
Yeah. So you start at 3 and can get it up to 5.
It says in the description it might be 4 and up to 6. I don't remember exactly.
I like that little jump. You're looking at here, spectator.
Little wing.
I was gonna say that's something that wasn't immediately evident in the concept art that we showed, but Ernest has wings and he can use them a little bit.
Well,
right?
he has mechanical wings.
Mechanical wings.
His particular subspecies of aviant is flightless. I think there's actually some lore exploration where Ernest and Toby are complaining a little bit about being flightless species from among the aviants, and Benedict, who originally had flight, now kind of partial flight, he has the wounded wing on there.
Yeah.
I'm sure Benedict doesn't rub that in their faces at all.
No, not at all. Benedict would never do anything like that, right?
Definitely not.
All right, so we looked at a couple of those. We've got some other options. You've talked about some other builds that are available there, Jet. What are we doing with some of his mutations? Let's talk about that for a second. Where does it get weird? What are you going to unlock with him?
That's a hard one to remember.
So let's get up and let's get up and take a look. Go up to Sean. Go up to the level is it 2 up there, the first mutation, and let's take a look at a few of those and walk through that.
Can you read that?
So that's never stop shooting. This is a reload speed, right? Which is
This is for your power egg. So it's a 25% reload speed boost. Which, if you're gearing for Ernest, I recommend reload speed. This is also a good help. You have that down. I mean, especially if you have other teammates that need to reload.
Well, you stack this. I remember one of my favorite quotes from a Gearbox designer ever was Matt Armstrong of Borderlands 2. I used to say, "Reload is the time where you die."
Yeah.
So we were always talking about the importance of reload speed. And I think that's very true on all the games. Especially with the shooter type things. I know, like Benedict has a long reload speed, but we intentionally built a loop in where you can kind of quick reload one shot. There's kind of a skill play in there.
It's
to
kind of
get
a give or
DPS
take right there. With AoE in our game, with minions being so important, having an AoE character that can clear a wave, it just makes sense to have a slower reload, but it's a punishment, so it's not as fun. So any way you can mitigate it makes it better.
So that definitely is something that makes him very, very powerful.
And he has a flat reload speed reduction as well later in his tree.
Yep.
So with that.
So let's move on down and take a look at the other mutations real quick. So we've got that. This is bomb suit, which is going to add his damage reduction. It's going to make him a little bit more defensive.
Bomb suit is one of the weird ones. It gives you a 35% damage reduction against explosive attacks. He's a bombardier, and so anything that's an AoE based attack, he just has reduced damage by default.
So if you were playing Ernest on a team opposite of Benedict,
that
might be a really great
in actually to counter other types of characters like himself or Benedict. And you have explosive characters.
Oscar Mike, Benedict.
Yeah.
Some of those crowd favorites. All right, moving on down to like the rank 5 mutation there. The old Razzle Dazzle, and that's damage, but it's based on it's based on direct hit, right?
I can't read it very well. Sorry.
Yeah, direct hit.
Yeah, so it's just increasing your direct hit damage, I believe.
Yeah.
Level 5 is an interesting one for him because on the left side you have wound duration, so direct hits with your passive wound enemies. You can wound a lot of enemies that way. But the other side is the one that's really interesting, and that's what Grant is going with. What it does is every time you direct hit an enemy with your passive, you lose 2 seconds off the cooldown for your mine. So you use that to loop your mine charges and just keep them up constantly.
So Grant is a pretty talented player, and he's going to go for those really probably technical builds on the characters. So he's probably looking at it really. He's going to try. Yeah, we'll have to make fun of him a little bit. Everybody can make fun of Grant here. So a moment in this chat stream for everybody to make fun of Grant, who you guys will recognize the community as Grant. Grant, our balance designer. So everything that goes wrong with the game balance-wise is his fault. We'll throw it. No, it's all our fault. But Grant's an awesome player. I love watching him play. I always learn a lot of things from him, and I always go to him for the secrets and tips to play. But what he's going for here, you're talking about, is again really working on that cooldown for his explosive charge.
Yes.
So he can use that again to move in and out of range of melee characters, to set up traps, whatever it is.
And if we pull the helix down, we can probably watch him abuse it pretty well.
We'll watch Grant see what he's doing here. So
especially with minion waves, so it works on them as well. So if you throw a mine into a minion wave, it's not a long cooldown, 10 to 12 seconds, and you just direct hit all of them in the wave with your grenade launcher.
Right.
You have another one right there.
So direct hit actually counts on all enemies, not just players. It's NPCs and players and all of that.
It's on NPCs and players. It doesn't count against buildables because it's really easy.
Yeah.
I Maybe he does. I don't know.
Which is actually really important to bring up for our story mission players.
Yes.
If you're taking Ernest into story missions and play, especially with enemies like thralls who are big and easy to direct hit, he's going to have a really fun loop for campaign players to get in and direct hit. And of course, he's going to get direct hit, and you get additional bonuses if you crit on a direct hit. Right, with that arced grenade shot is going to be another challenge.
And he also has. It was earlier in the tree, but I think Brand is using this as well, but his direct hit passive is when I directly hit you. If it bounces, it goes away. There's one of the odds that you can get that makes it on the first bounce, you also get that bonus. So if I miss you and it bounces once and hits you, I still get that bonus.
So you could, again, do that bounce right in front of them.
Yes, exactly.
Or around the corner if you want to do that for fun play. Cool.
Here's another quick question from the chat. Does Ernest Grenade Launcher auto-fire if you hold the trigger down?
Yes, it does.
I would not have expected that answer. I'm very pleasantly surprised. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's got I'm guessing its fire rate is affected by attack speed gear, so it's all that. So attack speed, reload speed, attack damage are all really good if you're just going to anchor on that.
That's what I
grenade
build
launcher,
on him
right?
And skill damage, even if you want to really anchor on the mine, but it's your choice.
Right. So so if you're really setting up the big mine, and that skill damage would be both for the explosive charge mine or for the mine grid, right?
Yeah, for
both of those.
as well.
So if you're really laying traps, if you want to build kind of a trap layer, Ernest, you really want to dig into skill damage. But if you want to stick with the grenade play and really the more active loop of Ernest, do that. And so here you go. We talked about what he's got. He's got the egg there behind.
He's in attack mode. He's got it placed behind there. He just used his grenade to
jump out. Yeah.
And you can get pretty high with it. You can, like, the upper ledges on this map, the little sniper edges, you can launch yourself up there, no problem. He's light as a feather.
And this is really interesting. He's pairing up with Alani here on this push on Meltdown. I'd like to say that they're winning, but it looks like they're just it's a very close match, a little bit behind.
You see, this Wrath is targeting his egg first.
Yep.
He decided not to now.
But not to, yeah.
That was your mistake.
Well, he got taken down. He got beat up and kind of pinned there between that. They've got a Montana that's trying to help him, but Montana and Wrath weren't able to coordinate together and really bring that damage on that. So
got a super minion to deal with too.
I'd say that it's Grant's play skill, but it's
no! Nice one.
And then hit by the turret, but he's going to go in and take out the accelerator, give him a chance to push because they just crossed past looks like they're past is that 216 or 276 up there? We need to. So they are past the midway point, and now they're really working on getting their minions. Yeah, the gate's closed. They're working on getting their minions to the back side of the Meltdown map.
And Ernest is brutal on this map because this map has the very tight chokes in the backfield. So in those tight chokes, his ultimate covers the entire thing.
And he can set up
mines will just detonate the entire thing.
So it's really good at funneling players through the choke or minions through the choke or whatever, and getting a lot of damage on them in tight closed areas. And Grant, again, love watching him play. Uses those tight closed areas also to. Oh my gosh!
That's his ultimate right there. So he throws it down. I don't see where it went.
Alani hitting him with that.
Yeah, you can see those are the little mines.
Those are the mines. Yeah.
He threw it and it landed on someone, so they all detonated. A lot of them detonated.
But there are a few left there that'll be there. Yeah, people run across them and hit them later.
Yeah, they don't last indefinitely. They last around 30 seconds before they clean up.
Right.
And they'll just blow up. Oh, funny thing, if you Gabe Simon did his effects, and all his explosions, if you pay attention, they explode. You see feathers fly out of them.
Oh, really?
They're all hand drawn, so it's like the explosion itself is a feather that has little feather particles come out. He has some really fun effects inside.
That's one of my favorite things about Battleborn is the hand drawn effects. They're all
great.
Amazing.
His run is hilarious, but that's his sprint animation, little
hippity hop.
It's kind of those tiny little legs. You know, again, I kind of in the good peacekeeper spirit with Montana of having ankles that are highly disproportionate from the size of the rest of your body.
Well, I mean, there's a lore question for you. What is it about peacekeepers that makes it so they hate leg day so much? Like, what's the problem? I just don't get it.
Well, that's Joe. That's really deep secret lore that we're not ready to talk about yet. So
sorry guys. I probably shouldn't have brought that up. I mean, maybe we'll address that down the road.
That's a question for Kester.
our art director, Scott Kester, who was instrumental in a lot of the concepts on this. So, wow, really close game. It looks like it's 309 to 303 here, if I'm reading right. They've got the screen just a little bit far away from us old guys here. Jet and I are both glasses wearers, so we're kind of squinting over here. But doing a good job. Both teams now, both Ernest and their support
he just dropped
teams.
his ultimate right there.
Yep.
And he's got a grid right there. Anyone going through is going to have a bad day.
But there, it looks like he's, again, setting up his...
There, Amber decided to go through it. She might be able to win, though. A little low.
Yeah.
They've got her on a turret. He really tried to set up a defensive area here, but she was able to kind of muscle through that and run him out of there.
Just Amber fans.
Yeah.
Hashtag just Amber.
Again, notice again, two experienced Ernest players here, both using the same tactic, getting that egg back around a corner.
Who's the other Ernest?
The power egg. I didn't see who the other Ernest was on the team.
PT.
Brian Thomas, our lead character designer.
Pendle Stream alum also.
Yeah, streamed Pendles with all of that. Also both very good, very smart players here.
Yeah.
It's a good face-off between the two of them as they really mix it up here on Meltdown here on the map. Again, I think Grant's got a little edge because he's got a Alani that really is sticking with him, sticking really close with him, being sure that she's getting, again, some damage in on him. She's getting some benefit from his power egg damage and defense boosts. And able as Alani is, really just to stack up those charges and then massively heal them at times. They really should be keeping a lot of pressure on here. And in fact, I would say it speaks a lot to the defensive team right here that they haven't just gotten wave after wave after wave through. They're getting some really great counterplay from Montana, and it looks like even is Isaac on the defensive team here that really is again counter pushing on them, keeping their waves from getting a big advantage.
So you mentioned a minute ago, Jet, that his ult does have a duration, right? It's not that minefield's not going to last forever. Yeah. So you want to try to place that in a high traffic area if possible.
Yeah, it's not something that you can throw down and wait 5 minutes till someone finally comes around. There's somewhere you want to.
You're going to have a time where you need to make sure it counts.
It has a pretty quick deployment though too, right?
Quick.
So
once it hits, it bursts out. I don't think if you land the giant egg that you throw on someone, it's not going to just insta-kill them. Yeah. It has a little trigger time before they land. They have to land on the ground to activate.
But if you're being chased or pursued through the map and you've got a short distance between you and the next character, the pursuer, you can lay that down. I love to throw it out in front of me and then run through it, allow it to deploy through, and then
that's what I do. Especially if I was being chased through one of the tunnels on this map. Throw it right in front of you when you're being chased. They have to go through probably 500 damage just to get to you. So that's a choice they have to make. And if you turn around with a grenade launcher or a mine, they have a bad time. Yeah. They're usually going to give up.
I was playing Ernest in one of the story missions, and it's, again, for our more story mission players, really, really super useful too, because we have a lot of AI melee enemies that just are pretty, like some of the Varelsi and some of the low-level thralls and all that just run at you in hordes. And this is amazing for setting up a place where they're going to run right at me. Again, you set up that. You're grenading them while they're running through that mess. You're putting up your buff eggs. If you get taking incidental shots, it's reducing the damage coming in. So just a really cool kit all along.
That's a really good point too. These streams tend to focus a lot on PvP, but a lot of these tips and tricks that you guys are giving us they can be translated into PvE and story mode as well.
He's a minion pusher. That's what he does. So he's going to be great in PvE.
Absolutely.
And you can kind of, again, I love Ernest and Montana kind of does this for me too, is you can kind of pick how you build this helix. To me, in a lot of places, really depends on how skilled I am in certain things. Like, if I'm not a player that's going to really be disciplined about getting my explosive charge to renew on that augment, or really landing direct hits on the grenade shot, if I'm not good at really timing that shot on the grenade, I can build him a little bit more defensively. I can add more grenades, so I have more chances to hit things and all of that. I can go in on build up skill damage, build minefields with explosions. But Grant really has gone for, again, the kind of the very, very Twitch-based player.
Very attack-based.
Very attack-based.
This is how I play him as well. I enjoy it. The other way, his egg has a lot of defensive capabilities. You can increase the amount of mitigation that it has to like 35% or something.
Wow.
You can get it to where it slows enemies that get in range. So you can use the egg as an escape. You drop it down, it slows anyone who gets in range of that. Kind of like it busts your teammates.
So again, you're running through one of these little tunnels. You drop down the power egg. You drop down a
They're either
minefield.
slowed or they have to kill it and then go. And either one's going to take a while.
And then you turn around and you throw some grenades in the mix for the fun of it. Yeah.
Just whatever. No. He also has his power egg has a bubble shield upgrade. So this one actually works in both modes, defense and offense.
So it's cool. Bring up the gear again there, Sean. This is cool. We're talking about different things. Grant's running a pretty smart build there. He's already got his he's got reload speed and health regen. And then he's running the armor there for damage reduction and also reload speed. So he's
attack damage and
attack damage and movement speed. Ernest is not the slowest of characters, but he's kind of a very average speed, right?
He's in the middle of the pack. I think he's around. Actually, I don't know. For a marquee or something, like the middle of the pack. Don't go too fast, not too slow.
Yeah, he's not going to catch El Dragon clotheslining away, but he's got, so Grant, again, and what's awesome is Grant's gone for a build here that just, it's all green items, right? They're all uncommons, but he's got a really nice synergy between his items that really take advantage of that. Oh, no, sorry, this is Grant's build. That was, I guess, BT's Ernest we were looking at a minute ago.
So he's got cooldown reduction with damage and...
But the same type of thing, some cooldown, damage reduction, and then a mix of attack damage. So
cooldown's also really good on him, so...
Would increase the amount of time that you can get because that goes with what we were seeing with his build earlier. He's trying to really do the thing where he gets direct hits are reducing the cooldown on his mine, on his explosive charge, and then he is doing additional cooldown reduction, which is taking that down even further. So he really is trying to get those explosive charges out.
Mines, as long as he's hitting shots.
Ernest is one of those like Cleese and like some of the other deployable kind of trap lane players that, man, a good Ernest player is just putting stuff everywhere that you don't like. Galt does that to me. You're a good Galt player. It's like you feel that how many traps can Galt put out once? I know it's only like 2 or 3, but like a good Galt player knows right where you're going to be and really is playing the battlefield and putting that strategically out. And I always feel that I'm getting stuck on his traps. And I was playing against the Ernest recently, and it, like every time I turn a corner, I'm running through his minefield. It felt like it was infinitely up, but I know it's just really smart, well-timed placement on someone that's reading the team and reading the battle.
Definitely.
So wrapping up here, wow, the yellow team the yellow team is just about to wrap it up. They're playing for the last, and we've got Grant here now. Again, he's really working on that wave push, wave clear. He's not playing defensive at all here. He's staying more attack aggressive, which goes at least what we saw on his Helix build and with his gear. Using some of those jumps and all to get maneuverability to try to miss the lead jump up there.
That's 3 that Grant's missed. The same jump. That's pretty bad.
Well, he's practicing on it, and I respect his.
Oh, look at that one.
Did he get it? No,
quite got it, but
let that land that again. But he was up there. He's going to get pinned in the middle here with a Montana and an Isaac coming up to play with him.
We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but some people in the chat are wondering, they may not have heard, what is Ernest's relationship with the other Avians in Battleborn like? That's all you.
It's interesting. So when you get into Ernest and if you're hearing his chat and you hear him and get to know him, Ernest is kind of a hero story, and we Battleborn. A lot of the characters come from home planets. They almost all had some part of the defense of the planet as they were overrun by the Varelsi and then by Rendain's Generate. And Ernest was a hero. It's one of the reasons he fits really solidly within the Peacekeepers. The Peacekeepers are kind of war heroes, just very defensive, very protective natured faction. And Ernest was that. You're going to read some lore about him that talks about kind of his military record, but he has a history of saving people, really being protective there. And he did so on his home planet, which was ultimately overrun anyway, just because the Varelsi had this innumerable number of foes, overrunning the universe. But Ernest is a good guy, and it's interesting because while Benedict is kind of a fellow peacekeeper, the avians, the bird people in our universe, kind of have a feud between those who can fly naturally and those who can't.
Yes.
Benedict is one who, before he was injured, can fly naturally. And so you're going to see some lore and some lines about that while technically they're in the same faction, Ernest and Benedict, Ernest was his commanding officer. Ernest is kind of a drill sergeant. Oh. Ernest has been in charge of a lot of peacekeeper training and has some relationship there, kind of brought Benedict in and all that. But Benedict's a little bit of an ass, so he and Ernest have that. And it's interesting, there's actually some lore that covers Ernest and Toby a little bit. Toby is kind of in the rogue faction, the discarded, almost the space pirates and all of that. but because they're both members of flightless species of avians, they have a little bit of kinship there. Right, they bond a little bit, even though that they've not always been together. And I think as they've joined the Battleborn together and now are finding reasons to fight together, on the same team or for the same cause, you see some of those bonds reawoken, in them and talked about. But he's a good guy. He's a little gruff with that, So you have a little bit of that kind of grizzled, old school drill sergeant,
and that comes across in his voice as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We also have some questions coincidentally about who his voice actor is, and also someone mentions a guy named Mr. Torg. Torg, does that ring a bell to either of you guys? Mr. Torg?
Not sure.
Mr. Torg was a character from of course Borderlands universe, voice acted by Chris Rager.
Yes.
Who was fantastic, did a great job.
Amazing.
Chris Rager, who also voice acted Rendane in Battleborn.
What
Mr.
about
Torg
that?
and
How about
Rendane,
that?
the same voice actor.
There
That's
you
one of the
go.
things I like to drop on people because, again, these voice actors that we work with are immensely talented
They're great.
people that can do so many different voices and so well that when I first heard his audition for Rendane, I didn't know it was the same person now. It's not the same voice actor for Ernest, and you'll have to apologize right now. The actual name of the voice actor escapes me at the moment. I'm doing some guy a horrible disservice. I believe it was. I want to say it was J. Michael Tatum, but I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'll get back to the community on that. So
we'll get back on that.
I've got two questions to come back to after the stream and get back to the community on. What is his specific sub-race and who's the voice actor?
We'll do a nice, Ernest post-mortem for the community, and we'll answer some of these questions we didn't get to. So.
With the voice direction on Ernest, we definitely wanted to capture the idea that he, again, peacekeeper. These are hardcore military types. They're very pro-military. They're very much space police, space defense force type of archetypes in the peacekeepers, and very much military organization. Right? They're very regimented. Peacekeepers love to protect everyone, but they have a rule. They have military police. You're going to abide by their orders. They have very specific policies. They're very bureaucratic in most ways. But they're one of the more welcoming of factions, even in that, even though they have the rules. So they're kind of good guys, but you need to be on the up and up, obey the rules, and they don't like thieving, they don't like stealing, they don't
stay on the straight and narrow.
So with that, we wanted to find a way. Oscar Mike kind of in that is like the every soldier. Oscar Mike in many ways that guy is Oscar Mike, the military acronym for on mission. And Oscar Mike is on mission. He's always there. He's always doing that. He's that soldier who is just gung-ho about being a soldier. Montana, a little bit less gung-ho about being a soldier, but Montana kind of the big, affable, friendly lumberjack of a guy, right?
Yeah.
But we wanted to, and Benedict, again, specialist soldier, who's a little bit full of himself.
Yeah, he's pretty special.
And when you come back to, we wanted, and then Galt, who is kind of the sergeant leader that everybody likes.
Yeah.
He's a little bit more relaxed. He's a little bit more. You can feel his experience. The reason he was the founder of the Battleborn is because even his enemies respected him and respected the way he conducted himself with that. Ernest we wanted to bring in
angry Galt.
No, it really is drill sergeant. We want to look, kind of look again at the peacekeepers, bringing in and talking about what, how do they organize, how do they train soldiers and all of that. So you're gonna hear, if you're playing on a team with Ernest is going to give you a lot of instruction about how to be a better soldier. How to be a better soldier.
Which I could probably use. I could probably use some discipline, so that's good. I'm okay with that.
But we wanted a little bit about kind of Galt is more of your high rank, your captain. It is Captain Galt. Oscar Mike more of the kind of lieutenant, the foot soldier. Montana is kind of the core guy in there. Benedict, I think, was technically a captain too, but everybody gets tired of him reminding him about that. But we wanted that guy in the middle that's like the one that trained them, that gets the soldiers ready, the new recruits. He's going to call you maggot a lot, I think, and evoke some of that kind of old, great, classic drill sergeant vibe in there. But there is a little bit of, it's not the same voice actor, but there's a little bit of that kind of high-powered Torg vibe in him.
Cool.
Gravelly drill sergeant. You're going to get to hear him talk about that and get in there. But he loves his explosives. He and Benedict, I think, share that. You're gonna hear a lot of grenade
Something
love.
on birds.
Yeah. And especially, he shaped them all like eggs. So there's a whole kind of nesting, brooding symmetry.
He's the kind of guy that sticks to a theme, and I respect that.
Right. So we're going to launch the second game here. I think these guys are getting ready to go. We're going to go ahead and move them into the game and get in here. And we're going to do, I think, an incursion match on Overgrowth.
Yep.
Right. And I want to give Jet, I want to give you a little time to talk about, so we've seen Ernest, we've kind of teased a little bit that I think he's a really powerful character out of the gate. And I think he's going to, a lot of people are going to find, I mean, he's Mr. NoobTube. Yeah. So I'm going to like him a lot because I'm certainly a noob. I need all the help I can get.
Same here.
NoobTube. We're going to talk about counters with Ernest and how to counterplay with Ernest.
Well, I was looking at the forums yesterday, and he's already the most overpowered character we have.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Before anybody's got it, just his, I mean, you look at the concept art.
So Ernest, besides attacking his buildables, making sure you keep those down, that is one of his weaknesses. But you want to use bullets. Right. Ranged characters are best for him. So Marquis, Montana, not so much because he's so big, but Oscar Mike, Whiskey Tango, anyone with a little range. He's so
really
big.
Ranged, targeted direct damage.
He's so easy to hit. You can take him down real easy. He's a pretty good counter against melee. So if you hate Pendles, he's a good option. Pendles gets on you, just throw a sticky and blow yourself away from him and shoot him with grenades.
He also has an augment that will reveal stealth characters as well,
he has a proximity mine, so if you don't like manually detonating your mines or whatever, he has a proximity augment, so when you throw it on the ground, when someone gets in range, it reveals them, and then after like a second, it just detonates. It'll
detonate. So that's cool. Again, if you really want to play that anti-stealth game, you have problems with like a Pendles, D'Andy, Oscar Mike, Shane and Orox on the other team.
Yeah. But so like range, higher locations, Monuments is a good example that really helps. It's hard.
So he's going to want to take up on Monuments, get on the steps, go up on those ledges, control the area.
Yeah, it's hard to arc grenades upwards at a person. It's easier to go down. So if you get yourself higher than him, it's a good counter.
And again, even like Monuments, it's got that turn in it. It's you get up to the corner and it puts you in a great position to wave clear on minions. On either side of the stairs that you get on that center area. So again, you get those grenades down in the center of minions group. You get that AOE spread on that. Again, a new tactic. But so you talk about characters. What if you had to pick a character that if you were going to counter a good Ernest player? If you were going to counter, I guess Grant's a good Ernest player. If you're going to counter Grant here as a good Ernest player, who are you going to pick and how are you going to build them to counter him?
If I was countering Ernest, I would use probably Marquis. It'd be map dependent, but Marquis would be a very good counter to him. I like Marquis for one. But he just does such high impact damage that he can kill buildables quickly for one, for deployables. But also he can, 3 shots into Ernest and he's out of the count. He needs to get back. He's not a high health character.
Yeah.
He's in the middle of the pack. He doesn't have super high health or anything. So yeah, just take him down with some sniper shots. It's going to keep him having to either go back. He has a healer that changes things a little, but anyone with a disable as well is pretty good against him.
So watch Grant here right out of the beginning of the match.
That's a great.
Already using his explosive charge to get that extra little move boost out of the gate.
Get all those shards any way you can.
Beat all. That's the co-opetition. Get the team up there. So we're on Overgrowth here, and you're talking about your counters being map dependent. So you'd still go with Marquis as a counter for him on Overgrowth?
On Overgrowth, I might go. Not Montana. What do you call it? Oscar Mike. Oscar Mike, a good medium range, can constantly pelt you with damage. Yep. There's a lot of backdooring you can do on this map, or other paths where you can sneak behind them and stuff like that.
Flanking and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So like melee, he's good against melee, but if you get behind him, you can get a jump. It's just, read him. If he throws a mine, that's when you go in. He has a 10-second window where he is vulnerable, essentially.
So if you're a melee character playing against an Ernest, what you're going to want to watch is you're going to want to expect that he's going to try to put out grenades or do something that's going to create that distance separation between you and him. So time that, wait for your charge attack. Maybe like Wrath would come in and you probably want to open up, let him get that thing thrown out, and then hit him with the catalytic smash, knock him up in the air, and go in for his combo.
Don't run directly at him. I don't know why people do that. If you run directly at Ernest, 6 grenades is probably going to kill you.
That's a good thing to keep in mind because it is a grenade, which is a slower moving projectile, has an arc on it. It's not a guaranteed hit. It's not an easy hit. It's not certainly not.
But when you run at him, it feels pretty easy. It feels pretty guaranteed. I think Montana can be good against him. Montana's just so big.
Easy to get grenades hit on Montana.
Hit by range. But if Montana gets in your face and gets a stun off on you, it's pretty hard to get away.
I think I've played a little bit of Montana recently online, and I've actually enjoyed some of the Montana Augs, especially on Overgrowth, that make Montana a little bit more of a sniper. You can do things that, like when he goes in, you can take the accuracy, you can reduce his spread, increases the fire and the damage that he does on that. So I usually keep keep that tight, and then play him as an early game sniper. So I'll take Montana, build him that way, keep him a little bit back in the pocket in my base, and use that as my leveling up phase, because Montana, until you get so you get to like level 4 or 5, you don't want to
unlock the beast.
I think I learned that playing against you and some others early on. That I was just getting destroyed as Montana. I think either you or Brian Thomas, one of the guys, came and set me down and said, "Randy, you need to be a little bit less aggressive as Montana at the beginning," which is completely counterintuitive to me, because I'm not a patient player at all.
Yeah, his early game isn't the strongest, so once you get him there.
So I'd have to be really careful as Montana against Ernest, because that matchup, Ernest is going to just lob grenades from me right at the beginning, get a bunch of easy hits. It's going to do it really easy to get that direct hit bonus from me.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing. Like, that's why I say Montana. It's kind of iffy, because the direct hit bonus is a big part of his kit, and it's just so easy to get direct hit on.
I don't think that either of our Ernest players here are using his legendary gear, but do you guys want to talk a little bit about that? Chat's asking about Ernest legendary gear, what it is, what it does.
I have no idea what it is.
I know. You stumped us, chat.
I remember.
So I've got a third question. I need to get back to the chat after the stream.
we'll go in our
and take a
community.
look
Pretty sure
at
it
it.
has reload speed and attack speed.
Okay.
But I don't know what the bonus.
What the values are.
There was a thread I was talking on the forum today. Some people were asking about character legendaries specifically.
Yeah.
Character legendaries, all that have fixed stats. With the launch of the game, they weren't fixed stats, and because you can only get them once, it was really unfair for us to reward. And some players got better versions than others, so we averaged them out. We're actually doing we're about to start a pass on our legendary to take a look at kind of systemically, based on all the things we've learned of gear balance, to be sure that our legendaries are performing like we want. So that'll be coming not soon, but within the next month or two. We'll hopefully get in a patch where we'll take a look at that. Generally with characters, though, someone was asking what was our strategy with character legendaries. And generally we want to do two things with character legendaries. Sometimes they're the same thing, sometimes they're different things. One thing is we want to take, like Jet was talking about, Ernest, I believe he's right, that it's probably reload speed and attack damage. Usually we want to take, just kind of some obvious choices for the character and give them a piece of gear that really lets you know, hey, these are things that are strong. And legendaries, because they aren't always fixed to types, most of the gear you have attack damage gear, and it's a family, and you can't stack that with other attack damage.
Yeah.
One of the things that makes legendaries particularly strong is sometimes you can get those bonuses on gear that aren't that type of family. So sometimes you can get, it could be a defensive piece of gear that has attack damage on it, so you can stack it with other attack speed, which really lets you max out that value for the character. So you want to watch for that. I'll get some details on that for the community after the stream and talk about that. So we can take a look at that.
You can see right here, Grant. He pushed forward, got a kill, and then he put his egg up at their sentry, and so he had basically a forward operating base where he was pelting the turret. He got pushed back, but it's a good way to play where you can plant the egg down, hide it.
Again, playing for every advantage on an incursion push right there.
Yeah.
Turning that corner and
The faster you can shoot the sentry, the better.
Breaking through that corner and getting attacks on the sentry, getting your waves through is one of the harder things to do on incursion, and takes a lot of cooperation. And again, he's stacking that. His other teammates are working with him to do that. Back to the character legendary for a second. The other thing I was going to talk about that we do with the character legendaries is, so every character legendary usually has a couple of stats that we bonus, and then a third ability that for the character legendaries only affects that character. It usually buffs the skill in that character. We almost treat that as an additional augment for the character. Additional, almost like your 11th level helix choice in some cases. And a lot of times what we look at with character legendaries are ways to bring out a different type of build. Every time we build helix, when we build mutations, we look at providing players other options for ways to build out characters with that. And it's no different with Ernest. So we'll get that out there and talk about that with players soon, and let them know what that legendary is. But those are generally the strategies we try to do to allow characters to kind of min-max the nth degree with character legendaries for stats that are good for the characters, or to give them interesting optional builds where they can build different things with the character that really help find them different play styles that they may like, and expand that out.
Here's another question from the chat in reference to the power eggs. So we know the power eggs can buff your allies. What about your minions? As the minions come through the field of the power egg, does that have an effect on them with the speed and that sort of thing?
Yes.
So it's all friendlies, right?
Yeah, it's friendly. So
any friendly?
There's a move speed boost on the egg as well that you can get, kind of like the logistics stations, and it does the same thing. It works on minions, and it also slows enemies. So yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Wow, so he
That,
is.
that right there, he's just like, you're not coming up here, Montana.
Yeah.
So he has added his bunker up there, and look at again,
Yeah,
really great placement on that bunker because a lot of
He just threw his ult back there too, so
Yeah.
now that's all locked off.
a lot of the defenders that are coming up to roust you out of that bunker won't turn all the way around that corner and hit that power egg back there. They're going to get you off that, and I even saw Grant again dancing to kind of back off the ledge and then back up. Montana came and turned that corner, but didn't bother the power egg. So they're giving Grant just again. He's up there. He's got attack speed going down there, and now we've got is that Alani down there with an overshield moving forward into the defense. They're really pressuring that. Look, they've got the shield down on the enemy sentry, or got some attack on it now.
Yeah,
Is the
they got
shield
some
down?
attack on it.
I think they're about to get it.
They've taken a
It's
good
like
shot of it.
halfway.
So they've definitely got the upper hand on it, getting a really good push on there. And we have what do we have going here? I haven't taken a look too closely at the team comp here. Grant has with him. He's got Arendi, Oscar, Mike, Thorn, and Alani. The other team has a Benedict, so we're getting a little bit of the avian on the bird on bird rivalry going on here.
Bird on bird crime. Yeah.
And we do have that situation. I mean, again, Amy there playing a big Montana on the other side, which again, like you said, like we were talking about, can be a really tough choice with Ernest on the.
Thorn is a great choice, though. If the Thorn can aim.
Yeah, that's always the if with
Yeah, 'cause
Thorn, isn't it?
She is really hard to hit with those grenades, with her high jump especially. Grenades are on the ground, like it's extremely hard to hit her, and she can just take you down.
Yeah, very mobile, very skinny, very hard to hit. Thorn, you really want to counter with AoEs, or you want to do things that slow and pull the movement, the jump off of her, get her down the ground.
Mm-hmm.
We nerfed my favorite move with her on Isaac in the last big patch. I used to love that slow mutation on Isaac because you could hit Thorn with that once and you could chase her down, but now it's just it's a wound. You can keep her from healing as fast, but a little bit hard. Yeah, I have to depend on teammates to slow her down so I can get hits on her now. I know it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, he can use this pillar right here really well too, because he can fire over it and he knows what the lane is behind her, so he can fire into the minion lane without actually exposing himself.
And again, really just sitting back in that pocket now. He's got again his attack buff up, clearing minions, harassing the enemies.
Hey.
Moving himself with his explosion back out of combat. That's awesome. Oscar Mike napalming there to keep the enemies out of the pocket there on the yellow team.
And
So
he's
look,
flanking back here, trying to get behind them.
Yeah, and there he goes again with the jump. The mobility on him's amazing.
Yeah.
On Ernest, you know.
but it's I like it. It's a neat type. I mean, his default movement speed isn't that high. His jump isn't that great. He doesn't do a lot of fly or flap or double jump type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's all based on that grenade hop.
Yep.
Yeah, no flying on this character.
It reminds me a little bit of the rocket launcher and grenade jumps that people used to do in Borderlands 2. You know.
Well, I mean, rocket jumping is classic. We actually played for a while with that on Benedict.
Yeah, he had rocket jumping for almost a year actually.
And it just with his other flight abilities, we added the ability that lets him, the takeoff ability that lets him get up in the air and all that. It just was like, I think we just removed it because we wanted to give him other ways to go. It was hard to balance.
For how this game was, it was too strong because it was part of his weapon. If
Yeah.
Ernest's grenade launcher launched him, we wouldn't have.
We needed a way to balance
his
his
skill.
As Benedict, as I think our community has found out, is really good at getting up on ledges and places, and we've done a okay job of, I think, balancing out the maps and defending them. There's a lot of places we've gone through and we've protected so Benedict can't get up there, but as you always find out, Benedict will find a way and is able to do that. So
Amy knocks them all up.
but
She's going down though.
Montana just out there.
Where is
She no, look at that. She ulted right in the middle. Montana has the ult up. Transformation keeping up. Now is going slow bullets. Use the dash. Got a knock in. Really good play.
Okay, she took a long time. That was a good play. I don't like giving her credit.
There's a big team fight here. Looks like going in and trying to secure those thrall. And looks like one team did it. They're up and out. Who got them? Are they? Did blue team grab the thrall here? You'll be talking about Benedict, and I missed the action that was going on around the thrall. So if you're new players on the stream for us, have not played a lot of incursion, obviously this is one of those great strategies. Is thrall are super strong at adding to your push. They do a lot of damage on the sentry, When they spawn up here in this midpoint, and there's thrall camps in all the incursion maps.
Those are just the neutrals, so yeah.
Okay, so those are just the neutrals. So they've killed them now, and you just saw them capture that. They killed the thrall. They stood on the capture pad. It captured them. So now it looks like yellow team has a couple of thrall they're going to add to the push. So this is the point that our Grand is Benedict. He's still playing a pretty aggressive game here on that.
Yeah,
but if he doesn't,
they're on the tower though. They might have sacrificed too much for this.
So they're trying to, looks like they're trying to get that push still up on the sentry, but you're about to have to drop down to defensive posture.
And Ernest's not so great against thralls. He can do AoE damage, but nothing like critting with Oscar Mike.
But thrall are big enough. I think even if you direct hit one, you're not going to get a lot of AoE damage on other stuff. The AoE on the individual grenades is fairly small,
yeah,
right?
It's not huge.
How would you compare it to Oscar Mike's grenade AoE?
It's about half.
About half that.
Yeah,
because he can.
Skill, it's pretty big.
Right, Ernest has
closer to Benedict's rockets.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's like smaller radius.
Again, faster fire rate, more opportunity to shoot projectiles out. So we reduce the AoE as a balancing tactic.
Yeah.
So you get some of it, but would you hit probably 2, maybe 3 minions at a time if you can find them grouped together?
If you hit the center minion, you'll probably hit all of them if they're packed tightly. But depends where they're at.
So moving through here, we're halfway through the incursion map. We're at the counting down. We're on the 16 mark here, coming up. Is it 16 or 18? I give my old man eyes. 16 minutes, so just halfway. Minions zipping through the middle. Blue team minions. Looks like blue team just took down the center turret there. Again, it's a fight for that push on incursion. So much of Overgrowth is settled on this center fight and that first sentry push. I've seen teams come back after that first sentry goes down. I've done it myself. But man, that's such a big tipping point in the match. It's really hard once you have, especially well-balanced teams, to come back from that. So,
Ernest is great for pushes on this map too. It's such a small lane; it's very easy for him to just take a wave out.
A lot of channels, so it helps offset some of the narrowness of that AoE attack that we talked about.
A lot of great places to bounce grenades around. It's just.
Well, I saw it earlier too. You're watching the little trail on the grenade, the effects trail that shows you where it is. You can see Ernest just shooting grenades over the minions and over the defenders and kind of the back, almost where your support characters are often. That's one of the bonuses of also having kind of a lobbed ability, right? You can get it over the front lines of Thrall or the front lines of defenders, or over a Montana into that Miko that's kind of that pocket in the back.
Yeah, also with his explosive charge, the team's clustered, say a Miko and a Montana are on each other, just throw it right in the middle of them, knock them apart. It's a good way of breaking apart a team too.
Right. So we're about halfway through the incursion match here, and we're not really talking about incursion today. So, Joe, this might be a good time if we have any other questions for community, maybe take a couple of those, and if not, I think we've given a pretty thorough overview of Ernest here.
I think
He's
so.
got the
Yeah.
bubble shield now.
We do have that's great to see the bubble shield. That's really cool because I was wondering he might pop that. Yeah, so one question from the chat that we do have that's very interesting. We talked a little bit about Ernest is kind of has some support qualities going on, but does he have any healing abilities?
No healing.
Okay.
He originally had some healing, and with the rest of his kit, it was extremely powerful. So we ended up removing the healing to give it more damage reduction, stuff like that. So he has lots of damage reduction, slows for enemies and stuff.
So
you're
supporting a different way.
You're
not necessarily
you're supporting the way.
teammates.
Yeah, you can support. I take less damage and I can shoot faster and do more damage. But
So he's kind of in that same category as Reyna and the type of buffs that he gives. Rather, she does a little bit of healing even, but and she focuses heavily on shields. But he's more just about, again, kind of all positive stuff, either damage reduction or attack speed increase, attack increase for that, and really kind of general buffs. But he's a pretty damagey character himself. He's pretty
he's someone you
aggressive.
stack with another support like a Miko or an Alani, and you'd have those as your two core supports. And it's extremely powerful.
I did notice a minute ago we had a Montana run through frame that is wearing the new Gone Plaid skin that came out today that actually dresses Montana like a lumberjack, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Bravo to the team on that.
In fact, was that Sean? Is that him right there? Is that Montana running the lumberjack skin?
There he is.
Let's zoom in on the Montana. We have a few new skins that came out today.
Yeah, we do.
That Montana is a great one. I love it. Again, if you're not a fan of Montana chest hair, it gets the lumberjack shirt on and roll-up sleeves and all of that.
Yeah.
And I love
I don't know how you can not be a fan of that. But
they trapped him back.
Yeah, he
back
had
in the
her,
corner.
The Alani grabbed him and Amy got killed.
Other skins, I don't know if the Galilea is playing with the skin here. She's right in the middle of all the things that Galilea does, which makes her a little bit hard to see. But Galilea has a new kind of, gray armor skin with some filigree on it. You can see some of the patterns and stuff on it there. And caught by Alani. There's also, I don't think we have a Deandy in this match. There's a new Deandy skin that went out today. I call it the Tron skin. It's really cool. It's like a solid black outfit with like blue striping.
Yeah, it's so cool.
The Wrath is, it's almost an Eldred influenced skin on Wrath, which is really interesting. It's like green, almost nature looking.
I thought I saw that one in the last game, maybe.
Yeah.
Actually.
I'm sorry, I think the mic there. It's, I forget the name of it. It's our oldest, alternate history. So it would be a Wrath as an Eldred there. And let's see, we had it seems like one or two other skins that went out today.
Yeah, Ambra had one out today.
Oh, she has the one that does. I love that. It's like a red skin, almost cracked. It's like almost like she's made out of like volcanic matter,
cool.
which is cool for her.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that was it today.
There may have been one more that we're forgetting. The Shannon Oryx, was there a Shannon Oryx skin?
No, that was all. That was.
I feel like we're forgetting. I feel like we're forgetting one, but yeah, with the balloon skin's amazing. But yeah, you guys check those out. If you haven't yet, check out the marketplace in Battleborn for the new skins because we have some really, really cool ones out. There are some in this batch that are my favorite so far. That's a great Montana skin.
Yeah, it's cool. I think we are getting to now the second or third skins out for some characters, and we're trying to get the other line. Oh, Caldarius has one of the coolest ones. Right. He has the one that does makes him look almost like
It's so great.
Yeah, it's like wireframed along all his joints. That's really awesome. It's actually when we run internally. It's
they've got.
We're talking about skins, and meanwhile,
the
Orange Sentry is just about cooked.
Wow, Blue has really turned this around. Was able to do that. They've got it in. They're dropping damage down there, and there it goes.
Here it comes.
Hey, good timing there.
Done.
Has wrapped up our incursion match.
Well done, Blue Team. Nice job.
It's because the other team didn't have an Earnest.
Right?
That's right. The
Big mistake not picking an Ernest.
The importance of being earnest. If I have to go there, right?
That's a pretty deep cut for. I think our viewers may find that to be a pretty deep cut.
Right.
I salute you on that one.
You're welcome.
That's a good one. So we've got a couple of games under our belt here. Thank you to the members of our team that took part in that. That was really great. Thank you to you guys for helping us out with the commentary on that.
Absolutely.
We do have one more thing that we want to do. We sort of created a monster last time we streamed and last time we did this, and we put out a skin code. And so we only felt it was right to do that again.
So we're going to do it again.
We're going to do it again.
Because Joe, you are so generous to our community.
I mean, it's not just me.
Well, it's really you.
It's you too. You and I slaved over this gold Ernest skin. So
that's what this is.
I'm kidding for the record there. Varnell and I do not make the skins.
I didn't do anything.
Thank God for that.
I think I just said it looks good. Let's do it.
It looks great, yeah. But anyway, so you'll see on the screen now there's a shift code for a gold Ernest skin. And that's obviously not Ernest in gold, but we wanted to make sure to note that Ernest obviously is not out until next week for Season Pass and Digital Deluxe owners, like we said earlier. But next week, if that describes you and you have a hero key to go ahead and unlock him, you will be able to redeem the code today and then have the skin waiting for you when you load up Ernest next week.
Because of course nothing says bold like gold.
No, nothing. What else could?
I don't know where I came up with that. That was dumb.
It was a rhyming thing.
Dumb.
It was
rhyming.
So anyway, yeah. So plug that in there and then just wait. Just wait a week or two, and gold Ernest. It's gonna be so good. So good.
All right.
Yeah. So the only other thing that I want to plug really quick is PAX West is coming up, and Gearbox Software will be there. We're really excited. We're going to have a panel on Friday, September 2nd at 4 p.m. So if you're going to be at PAX, come by, hang out with us. Should be a really good time. other than that, I think that's all we've got. We talked about skins. We talked about packs. We talked about Ernest. It's been like... this has been a huge hour.
Again, another deep dive on Ernest, right?
We have to do that. We have to do that.
I really am a one-trick pony. It's all I got, Joe. That's all I got.
Anyway, that's all we've got. Thank you guys again. Also, one more thing. Speaking of the panel at PAX, if you follow us on Twitch, the channel that you're watching right now, we will be hosting the PAX panel on our Twitch channel, so you can watch it really easy. It can't get easier than that, right?
Yep.
I think so.
Cool.
And I think we are gonna talk about some more Battleborn stuff at the panel.
Oh yeah, by the way, we
PAX.
are gonna have Battleborn news.
Yeah.
Big
So
Battleborn news.
you definitely want to. If you're a Battleborn fan, definitely.
Oh, we have the hype horn in the back. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for that. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.